phone wakes me from my dreams. But my dreams are my own business.
Is that Mr. Philip Marlowe? This is Clyde Umney, the lawyer.
I don't hear too well. Partly because I'm only half awake, and partly because I'm holding the receiver upside down. It was 6:30 a.m., not my best hour.
Do you hear me?
No.
I said I was Clyde Umney, the lawyer.
Clyde Umney, the lawyer. I thought we had several of them.
You're Marlowe, aren't you?
Yup, I guess so.
Don't get fresh with me, young man.
Sorry, Mr. Umney, but I'm not a young man. I'm old, tired, and full of no coffee.
What can I do for you, sir?
I want you to meet the super chief. It gets in at 8 o'clock from Chicago. I want you to identify a girl among the passengers, follow her until she checks in somewhere, and then report to me. Is that clear?
No.
Why not?
I don't know enough to be sure I can accept a case.
I'm Clyde Umney, the
Don't.
lawyer.
I might get hysterical. Perhaps another investigator would suit you better. I never was an FBI man.
My secretary will be at your office in half an hour. She will have the necessary information for you, including a photo of the young woman in question, as well as some expense money and a retainer of $250. She is very efficient. I hope you are.
I'm more efficient when I've had breakfast.
Very well, but I want one thing very clear. The girl is not to know she is being followed. This is very important. I am acting for a very influential firm of Washington attorneys. I expect a high degree of efficiency. You will account for your expenses in exact detail and buy your own drinks.
I'll do what I can, Mr. Umney.
And let's not waste any more time talking.
The woman I'm looking for is named Eleanor King. Height 5'4", aged about 29. Hair dark, reddish-brown, thick with natural wave. Well-dressed but not overdressed. Conservative makeup.
Number 35, the super chief from Chicago has just arrived on track 11.
The super chief is on time, as it almost always is, and the subject is as easy to spot as a kangaroo in a dinner jacket. She's not carrying anything but a paperback. She wears a midnight blue tailor-made suit. An unhappy girl, if ever I saw one. The subject wanders around the station. She glances at the drugstore, the newsstand, the information booth, and the clean wooden benches. She's not interested in any of them. She looks like a girl waiting between trains. She finally settles herself in the coffee shop.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes, sir.
You work the super chief?
Yeah, part of it.
I was expecting someone on the Washington-San Diego through car. Anybody get off?
You mean get off permanent, baggage and all?
Yeah.
Well, one passenger got off. What'd your friend look like?
Large enough to be unmissable. Gray mustache. Smokes Havanas.
Can't help you, mister. Your friend's probably still on the train. They don't have to get off the through car. If she gets hitched onto the 74 for San Diego, leaves here around 11:30. Train ain't made up yet.
Thanks.
I give him $1. The subject's baggage is still on the train, which is all I need to know. I buy a round-trip ticket to San Diego and trot back to the coffee shop.
Your coffee, sir.
Thanks.
The subject is in place, but no longer alone. The guy is across the table from her, smiling and talking. About 6'1", slender, with a thin, conceited face with too many teeth. One look is enough to show she knows him and regrets it. He's twisting a piece of paper in his hand, and it's as clear as distilled water. She doesn't want him there. I'm not close enough to hear them, but I don't need to be. He opens the twisted paper and lays it carefully down in front of her. It looks like a newspaper clipping. Her eyes go down to it. Her hand moves to take it, but his is quicker. He puts it away in his pocket, still smiling. Then he takes out one of those pocket notebooks with perforated pages. He writes something, tears the sheet out, and puts it in front of her. That she could have. She takes it, reads it, and puts it in her purse. At last she smiles at him. It's quite an effort. Conclusion? The dreamboat has something on her, and she has to pretend to like it. But he's gone away now, and he isn't afraid of losing her. Whatever held them together is strong enough to keep on holding them, wherever she goes next.
Number 74 on track 11 is now ready to receive passengers for Santa Ana.
A bunch of people get up, including the girl. I find a phone booth and tell Clyde Umney I'm heading for San Diego. Then I follow the subject onto the train on track 11. First stop, Santa Ana. Subject does not get off. At Oceanside and Del Mar, the same. So when we get to San Diego, I hop off quickly, charter a cab, and then wait 8 minutes outside the old Spanish station for the red caps to come out with the baggage. The girl comes out too. She takes a cab. I follow it to a motel joint outside the town called the Rancho Descansado.
I'd be glad to show you what we have vacant, Mr. Marlowe.
The girl at the counter is an outdoorsy type, with nice, large, soft eyes, and that's what I'm counting on. In no city hotel in the world would this work. It might just work here.
So, about how long would you be likely to want accommodation?
Only as long as she does. The girl in the blue suit, she just registered. Using what name, I wouldn't know.
Mr. Marlowe, I don't think I
I'm
can...
tired of being cagey. I'm worn out with it. Did you notice her ring finger?
Why, no, I didn't.
No wedding ring. Not anymore. All gone. All broken up. All the years. God, to hell with it. I followed her all the way from... Well, never mind where. She won't even speak to me. What am I doing here? I better go somewhere else.
You want to make it up and she won't?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sympathetic. But you know how it is. A hotel has to be very careful. These situations can lead to anything. Even shootings.
Shootings? Good God, what sort of people do that?
Just what would you like to do, Mr. Marlowe?
I'd like to be near her. In case she needs me. I wouldn't speak to her. I wouldn't even knock on her door. But she'd know that I was there. And she'd know why. I'd be waiting. I'll always be waiting.
Like I said, I'm very sympathetic.
But I don't somehow like the look of the guy who brought her here.
You mean the cab driver? Oh, you mean the reservation.
So she shows me the registration card. Across the corner is written diagonally the name Larry Mitchell. In a very different writing, in the proper places, Miss Betty Mayfield, West Chatham, New York. Then, in the top left-hand corner, in the same writing as Larry Mitchell, a date, a time, a price, a number.
I have to tell you, Mr. Mitchell, who made the booking, is a pal of the owner, Mr. Brandon.
You're very kind. So, she's gone back to her maiden name. It's legal, of course.
Any name is legal if there's no intent to defraud. You would like to be next door to her.
Look, it's damn nice of you, but it's your job if I pulled anything.
Okay. I've got to learn someday. You look all right to me. You've got the room next to hers.
The room is bearable. I pour myself a drink from the bottle in my suitcase. I hear the toilet flush next door. Subject is in residence. Then I study the wall heater on the party wall. It consists of 2 long, frosted bulbs in a metal box. It doesn't look as if it'd throw much heat out, but who cares? I slip off the chromium grill guard and twist off the bulbs. I get a doctor's stethoscope out of my suitcase and hold it against the metal backing. I pull out a striped cushion and sit with my back to the wall. For a few minutes, nothing. Then...
Esmeralda 41499, please.
It's the first time I've heard her voice in all the hours I've been following her. The reception is perfect.
Mr. Larry Mitchell, please. This is Betty Mayfield at the Rancho Descansado. Apartment 12C. You ought to know. You made the reservation. Well, all I'll be here.
She's in there waiting for him because she has to. And I want to know why.
Hello, Betty. Betty Mayfield is the name, I believe. I like it.
Was my name originally?
I suppose you were wise to change it. But how about the initials on your luggage?
I suppose that was the first thing you noticed.
You were the first thing I noticed. The mark of a wedding ring, but no wedding ring was the second. No, baby. The initials were only the third.
Don't call me baby, you cheap blackmailer.
I may be a blackmailer, honey, but I'm certainly not cheap.
You talk too much and you like yourself too well. We'd better understand each other. I like Esmeralda. I've been here before and I always wanted to come back. It's nothing but sheer bad luck that you live here and you were on the train that was taking me here. It was the worst kind of luck that you should have recognized me, but that's all it is. Bad luck.
Good luck for me, honey.
Perhaps, if you don't put too much pressure on it. If you do, it's liable to blow up in your face.
All I've got to do is pick up the phone and call the San Diego papers. You want publicity? I can arrange it for you.
I came here to get rid of it.
You've changed your name twice. If your story got printed out here, and it's a pretty good story, honey, I guess you'd have to change your name again and start traveling a little more. Gets kind of tiresome, doesn't it?
How much do you want?
Have I said anything about money?
You will. And keep your voice down.
Oh, relax, honey.
Perhaps I'm being rude to you. I'm tired.
Sure, you're tired. Well, here's to when you're not tired. Say about 7:30 this evening at the Glass House. I'll pick you up. Nice place for dinner. Dancing, quiet, exclusive. They don't have a table unless they know you. Now, I've got friends around here, people you need to know. People who can make life pleasant for you.
Expensive?
The Glass House? A little. Oh, yeah, and that reminds me. Until my monthly check comes in, you could let me have a couple of dollars. I'm surprised at myself. I did mention money after all.
A couple of dollars?
A couple of $100 would be better.
$60 is all I have, until I can open an account or cash some traveler's checks.
You can do that at the office, baby.
So I can. Here's 50. I don't want to spoil you, Mr. Mitchell.
Call me Larry.
Should I? That's enough now, Larry. Be nice and run along. I'll be ready at 7:30.
Me too.
I'm doing a cheap, sneaky job for people I don't like, but that's what you hire out for, chum. They pay the bills, you dig the dirt. Only this time, I could taste it. What's happening now is sort of what I expected. She's packing to leave. I make my decision.
Who is it?
Can I borrow a cup of sugar?
I haven't any sugar.
Well, how about a couple of dollars until my check comes in?
Who are you?
I'm your next-door neighbor. I was having a nap and voices woke me up. The voices spoke words. I was intrigued.
Go somewhere else and be intrigued.
I could do that, Mrs. King. Pardon me, Miss Mayfield. But I'm not sure that you want me to. To be strictly kosher, I should call L.A. and tell the party who sent me. Maybe I could be talked out of that.
God, 2 of them in one afternoon. How lucky can a girl get? Okay, come in. How much did you hear?
The tag end of a rather nasty conversation. The walls here are as thin as a hoofer's wallet.
You in show business?
Just the opposite of show business. I'm in the hide-and-seek business. My name is Philip Marlowe. You've seen me before.
Have I?
Union Station in L.A. We waited between trains, you and I. I was interested then in what went on between you and Mr. Mitchell. That's his name, isn't it?
So what interested you?
How you changed after your talk with him. You made yourself over into just another flip, hard-boiled, modern cutie. Why?
What was I before?
A nice, quiet, well-bred girl.
That was the act. The other was my natural personality, which goes with something else.
Oh, guns. Don't scare me with guns. I've lived with them all my life. Guns never settle anything. They're just a fast curtain to a bad second act.
Just what are you doing to me, Mr. Marlowe? Or is it the other way round? What can I do for you in return for you not doing anything at all?
Who is Eleanor King? What was she in Washington, D.C., and why did she change her name somewhere along the way and have her initials taken off her bag?
I had a very unhappy marriage and was divorced and had been given the right to resume my unmarried name, which is Elizabeth, or Betty Mayfield.
It doesn't quite explain how Mitchell got involved.
Just an acquaintance I made along the way.
An acquaintance who touches you for a loan? Very fast work. And I got the impression you didn't care for him too much.
Well, so what? As a matter of fact, I'm crazy about him. Who hired you, Mr. Marlowe, and for what?
A Los Angeles lawyer, acting on instructions from back east. I was to follow you, see you check in somewhere, which I did. But now you're getting ready to move, I'm going to have to start over again.
You're in a business that doesn't pay fortunes, aren't you? So what would it be worth to you to walk out of here and forget you ever saw me?
I'd walk out of here for free. As for the rest, I have to make a report.
How much? I can afford a substantial retainer. That's what you call it, I've heard. A much nicer word than blackmail.
It doesn't mean the same thing. I'm on the other side. Don't give it away.
Well, what do you know? A dick with scruples. Run along now, Mr. P.I. Marlowe, and make that old phone call you're so anxious about. I'm not restraining you.
I thought to check at the office. 12B was rented this afternoon, very soon after this was occupied. I got faintly curious, so I borrowed the other key. And who is this hunk of beef, baby?
She told you not to call her baby, remember?
He's a private eye called Marlowe. Somebody hired him to follow me. We've been talking money.
Always a mistake.
He pokes at me with a straight right, very fast and well sprung. It snaps my head back. This gives him time to lift the gun out of the girl's hand.
Okay, just relax. I know it sounds corny, but I could drill you and get away with it. I really could.
Okay. For $50 a day, I don't get shot. That costs 75.
Please, turn around. It would amuse me to look at your wallet.
I lunge for him, gun and all. I catch him on the side of the neck. I'm doing okay, but I don't win the wristwatch. Suddenly, an army mule kicks me square on the back of my brain. I go zooming out over a dark sea and explode in a sheet of flame. My first sensation is that if anybody spoke harshly to me, I'll burst out crying. The second is that the room's too small for my head. I stagger to the door. It gets some air.
Nice evening.
A middle-sized fat man is leaning against the railing outside.
You want something?
I'm still foggy,
Looking for a man?
but something about him bothers me.
Maybe you could tell me where he is.
Name?
Larry Mitchell.
Larry Mitchell. Do I know him?
My card.
Goebel and Green, investigators, Kansas City, Missouri. Must be interesting work, Mr. Goebel.
Don't get funny with me, Buster. I get annoyed rather easy.
Fine, let's watch you get annoyed. What do? Bite your mustache?
I ain't got no mustache, stupid.
You could grow one. I could wait.
You ain't through with me yet.
I let him have that one. It isn't worth topping.
Is that you, Marlowe? Well, let's have it.
I'm in San Diego. I've lost her. She slipped away while I was taking a nap.
I just knew I'd picked a smart cookie.
It's not as bad as it sounds, Mr. Rumney. I have a rough idea where she went.
Rough ideas are not good enough for me.
Well, would it be possible for you to give me some notion of what this is all about? For example, can you tell me who the girl is, where she came from, and what she's supposed to have done to make this job necessary?
Necessary? Who the hell are you to decide what's necessary? Find that girl, pin her down, and phone me her address. And if you expect to be paid, you'd better do it damn quick.
I'll call you tomorrow. And don't worry too much about anybody losing anybody. There's two other guys working the same side of the street. One's a local boy named Mitchell, and the other's a Kansas City shamus named Goebel. Well, good night, Mr. Rumney.
Hold it. What does that mean, two other operatives?
You asking me what it means? I'm the guy asking you. Looks like you only got a piece of the job.
It does appear I'm entitled to a little more information about this project. I'll call Mr. Consolving first thing in the morning.
What was that name? can solve it.
My rough idea could be wrong. Maybe once Miss Mayfield left the motel, she grabbed the train for Los Angeles or some way station. But it's far more likely that she has not. So here I am in my smart new hire car, heading for the glass room. It's attached to the Hotel Casa del Poniente, Esmeralda, California. License holder I register as I enter, one Clark Brandon. On the dance floor, half a dozen couples are throwing themselves around with the reckless abandon of a night watchman with arthritis. Most of them are dancing cheek to cheek, if dancing is the word. I needn't have worried about losing Miss Betty Mayfield. She's there and with Mitchell, but far from happy. He's grinning, but his eyes have that glazed look. Betty is holding her head as far away from him as she can without breaking her neck.
Senor? A double Gibson and a club sandwich. Muy bien, senor.
As Mitchell and the Mayfield girl leave the floor, I notice a guy watching them. A big, handsome guy with gray in his hair and just enough of it. He looks like a nice guy if you didn't crowd him. Except, looking at him closer, if you did crowd him, you'd better be big, fast, tough, and in top condition. Could this be Clark Brandon, license holder?
Come on, baby, don't be mean.
Don't. Just don't.
They're close to me, but they don't see me. He's drunk, she's angry, and he's chewing away at her face.
Let go of me, you drunken slob. Oh!
I can't see what she does to him with her knee, but I can guess, and it hurts him. His face goes savage.
You bitch!
The red shows on her skin at once. She starts to leave.
You hurt me, sweetness. I'm a bad man to hurt.
So, shall I pay the check, Mr. Mitchell? Or will you pay it with what you borrowed from me?
He's going to hit her again, but the big guy moves into action.
Whoa, take it easy, Larry. You got a skin full.
Stay out of this, Brandon.
I'd be delighted. I'm not in it. But you better not slug the lady again.
Who are you to tell me what to do?
I've known you quite a few years, and I run this joint. We don't often throw people out of here, but it could happen.
Why don't you go spit in your hat?
Take it easy, Larry, I said. I won't say it again.
Okay. See you later. Much later.
He goes out, unsteadily but quickly, looking at nothing. I was right about Mr. Brandon. Just now he stands there. The girl stands there too. He smiles, very polite and easygoing. No come on.
Well, anything I could do? Drop you anywhere? No check, of course, in the circumstances.
Please. I don't want other people paying my bills.
Oh, custom of the house. Nothing to do with me personally. But, well, maybe I could send you a drink.
Send?
Well, bring then. If you'd care to join me at my table.
Oh, he has what it takes, all right. She joins him at his table. He gives a sign and the orchestra begin to play another number. Mr. Clark Brandon seems to be the sort of man who gets what he wants without raising his voice. He and the girl talk. Then they dance. Maybe she sees me. Maybe she doesn't. About 10:30, they leave. I follow. They don't go far. Only to the Casa del Poniente. Maybe she's booked in already. Maybe she's booked in now. Maybe Brandon has other ideas. That's enough for tonight. I head back to the Rancho Descansado. I put my curly head on the pillow and go to sleep. The tapping's light, but very persistent. I grab my gun, go over to the door, and open it a crack.
It's me, Betty.
What do you want?
Let me in, quickly.
Anybody else outside?
No, I'm alone.
Okay, come in.
She sits there silent. Our eyes meet across great gulfs of nothing. Then she reaches inside her pocket and pulls out a gun.
Oh, no. Not that again. We're old friends. Last time I saw that gun, Mitchell had it. So?
That's why I knocked you out. I was afraid he would shoot you. Aren't you going to look at it?
I have looked at it.
I walked here from the casa. I'm staying there now.
I know. You had dinner with Mitchell, and then you danced, and then there was a little ill feeling. A man named Clark Brandon drove you back to the hotel, at the very least.
I'm beginning to think you are a detective. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make my mind up about something.
Take your time. It's only 3:20 in the morning.
How far would you go for $5,000, Marlowe?
Assuming normal rate of expenses, that would buy me full-time for several months. That's if I happen to be for sale.
You're for sale, all right. There are $5,000 in American Express checks here in this folder, and that'd just be a down payment. I can buy big. I've more money than you ever dreamed of. My last husband was so rich that it was pitiful.
I take it I wouldn't have to murder anybody.
You wouldn't have to murder anybody.
I don't like the way you said that. Maybe I better see that gun after all. So, who's wearing the bullet?
We're just talking, aren't we? We don't quite want to say it in plain words.
All right. Where is he?
Lying across a chaise on the balcony in my room. All the rooms on that side have balconies with concrete walls across them. I'm on the 12th floor. This is going to sound a little corny. He could only have got there through my room, and I didn't let him through my room.
So what happened with Mr. Brandon?
Nothing happened with Mr. Brandon. He fixed a room for me, that's all. He was a perfect gentleman.
So this body, which is clearly not Mr. Brandon, you're quite sure he's dead?
Quite sure. Stone cold dead. I don't know when it happened. Once I got to my room, I fell asleep very quickly. I didn't hear a sound, but something woke me all right. But it wasn't any sound like a shot. I couldn't go back to sleep, so I went out onto the balcony. It was quite a while before I even saw him. Guess that sounds pretty unlikely. Can't imagine the police taking it very seriously, even at first. I haven't got a chance in a million unless I get help.
The man, of course, is Mitchell, right?
Yes, it's Larry.
And Mitchell had something on you?
Yes.
And you didn't kill him, you say? You know, the cops won't believe you, even at first. Shall I tell you something? You're not taking this with normal reactions. No panic, no hysteria, no nothing. You're fatalistic. My guess is that you've been here before.
How do you know that?
Just an instinct. You're watching a playback.
What does that matter now? $500,000 is a lot of money, Marlowe. There are places in the world where you and I could have a beautiful life. In one of those apartment houses along the ocean front in Rio. I don't know how long it would last, but things can always be arranged, don't you think?
Now you're making like a mall. What a lot of different girls you are.
$5,000 down and a lot more to come. The police wouldn't give you 5 toothpicks.
What do I have to do?
The Casa del Poniente is built almost on the edge of a cliff. At the foot of the wall, there's only a very narrow walk. Below the cliffs are rocks and the sea. It's almost high tide. My balcony hangs right over that.
Did you come out through the lobby?
Fire stairs. There's an all-night man in the garage, but he was asleep in one of the cars.
You said Mitchell is lying on the chaise. Is there a lot of blood?
I didn't notice. I suppose there must be.
You didn't notice? You went near enough to find out he was stone cold dead. Where was he shot?
Nowhere that I saw. It must have been under him.
Where was the gun?
It was lying on the floor of the porch, beside his hand. Do we have to keep on talking about this?
All right. I don't know a damn thing about the tides and currents around here. He might wash up on the beach tomorrow, and he might not show up for 2 weeks, assuming, of course, we can bring it off. Maybe he won't be found at all. There are barracuda in these waters, and other things.
You certainly do a thorough job of making it revolting.
Well, I had a running start. We have another hour or two of darkness, so we have to move fast. You play with the checks while I get dressed.
The name she wrote on the checks is Elizabeth Mayfield. So the switch of names had been planned before she left Washington. The big money means nothing to me. She sits there in the car, frozen in one position, stony with despair, like somebody on the way to be hanged. She's been somewhere like this before. Can she really believe I'm going to do what she wants? Or is she just the best little scene stealer I've come across in a long, long time? And why does this Mr. Kinsolving want her traced?
Okay, here we are. I'm gonna put the car in the basement garage. Trusty all-night man is still asleep. How about you?
I'm going in by the lobby. I'm too tired to climb the stairs.
No law against it? What's the room number?
1224. What do we do if we get caught?
Caught doing what?
You know what. Putting it over the balcony wall or somewhere.
I get staked out on an anthill. I don't know about you. Depends what else they have on you.
How can you talk like that before breakfast?
I carry on down to the basement garage. I park. In a basement garage, you can hear a very small noise. I hear nothing. Then I see the night man. He's out of circulation in the Valley of Peace, where time is slowed to a standstill. Just now he's happy. In a couple of hours, he may not have a job. 12 stories in a basement takes a lot of stairs. I prowl along to room 1224 and try the knob. The door opens at once, as if she's been waiting behind it.
Have any trouble?
Nightman was junk to the eyes, harmless as a kitten. So, show me the body?
No, I'd rather call the police. Whatever it means for me.
That's a bright idea. Why didn't we think of that before?
There's no need for you to be mixed up in this.
I watch her eyes. She can hardly keep them open. It's either delayed shock or some kind of dope. I can't tell which.
I swallowed 2 sleeping pills. I just can't take any more trouble tonight. Go away from here. Please, I'm too tired to fight anymore.
Quite sure you only took 2?
Yes, I never take more than 2.
Now listen. I'm gonna take a look at him. Then I'm going back to the rancho. I'm gonna keep your money. Also, I have your gun. Maybe it can't be traced to me, but... Wake up! Hey, listen to me! Listen!
She sags forward. I catch her and steer her over to the bed. She flops on it any old way. She's asleep at once. She begins to snore. I open the French doors and go out onto the balcony. I look around. Nobody is dead on either of the chaises, nor on the floor, nor anywhere at all. No blood either. No blood on the balcony, no blood on the safety wall. No blood. And no sign of anything having been heaved over. I lean out as far as I can lean. There's a narrow strip of lawn, then a heavy fence with shrubs growing against it. Beyond the fence, the sea creams on some half-submerged rocks. It's at least 35 feet down. Larry Mitchell, give or take a few pounds, must be about my weight. The man isn't born who could heave a 175-pound body over that railing and far enough out to fall into the ocean. It's barely possible that a girl wouldn't realize that. About 0.1% possible. She's still sound asleep. No deep stupor, no coma, and therefore no overdose. She told me the truth about one thing and about damn little else. I used the hotel pen to write a note. Dear Betty, so sorry I couldn't stay dead. Will explain tomorrow. Larry. Then I go back to the Rancho Descansado. Once again, I lay my curly head on the pillow and try to sleep. Next morning, I talk to Mr. Omni. He's no nearer telling me why I'm doing what I'm doing, or more about who's employing me. So I head back to the casa. I ask for Miss Mayfield. There's no reply. I ask for Mr. Mitchell. There's no reply either. So I sit and have a smoke. And then I see Betty Mayfield talking to the hotel clerk. She looks as fresh as a morning rose.
Are you Mr. Marlowe?
Miss Mayfield?
Yes. The clerk here said you wanted to see me.
I have a car outside. Do you have time to look at the property?
Yes, I guess so. Oh, all right. He must have been the dope and the liquor. I must have been a little off base.
Over at the Rancho Descansado, you were in great shape. You were hard as nails. We were going to take off for Rio and live in luxury, apparently also in sin. All I had to do was get rid of the body. What a letdown. No body.
Turn left at the next corner and we can go up into the hills. There's a wonderful view up there. And a lot of very fancy homes.
Yeah, to hell with them.
It's also very quiet up there.
Do you know anybody named Clyde Umney?
Should I?
He's the lawyer who hired me, on behalf of a Mr. Kinsolving. Ring any bells?
None at all. Who are these people?
Then how about Ross Goebel?
I've no idea.
Ross Goebel is a Kansas City private eye who says he's trying to find Mitchell.
Why should he be interested in Larry?
Just keep on asking me questions to which I don't have the answer. It's good for my inferiority complex.
Turn left up the hill at that sign.
So, who fired the gun and what at?
I guess I must have. I guess I must have been crazy. Where is it?
The gun? It's safe. Just in case your dream came true, I might need to produce it. Seen your boyfriend around?
Larry?
You got others?
Well, you might have meant Clark Brandon, although I hardly know him.
He drove you home last night, to his own hotel.
I told you he behaved like a gentleman.
Unlike Larry.
Larry was pretty drunk last night. No, I haven't seen him. Perhaps he's sleeping it off.
He might be sick. He might have gone out. He might even be dead.
Listen, you're a comfortable man. That's why I came to you. But please, don't rush me.
Nobody goes all gooey over a character like me and offers me a trip to Rio and a nice home complete with all the luxuries. Nobody drunk or sober does that because she dreamed a dead man was lying out on her balcony. And would I please hurry around to throw him into the ocean?
All right, I'm a liar. I've always been a liar.
6 trained elephants couldn't have thrown him far enough from that balcony to land in the ocean.
I told you I was a liar.
But you didn't tell me why. Suppose a man had been dead on your balcony. What would you expect me to do about it?
You took my money. You played up to me.
That way I might find out who was crazy.
You found out. You should be satisfied.
I found out nothing. Not even who you are.
Then just take me back to the hotel.
Halfway down, a car is parked in the shade. It could be empty, but I don't think so. A hat goes down over a face, but not quick enough to hide that it belongs to Mr. Ross Goebel of Kansas City.
We're being tailed.
But...
Wait here.
How are you making out with the girl?
Not getting anywhere. What's your interest? I thought you were looking for some guy named Mitchell.
Very funny. Some guy named Mitchell. Never heard of him, I believe you said.
I've heard of him since. I've seen him drunk. He damn near got himself thrown out of a place. He lives at the hotel.
I know he lives at the hotel, friend. What I don't know is where he's at right now. I thought maybe you and the girl had some ideas about it.
The girl's screwy. Leave her out of it.
If you ask me, she's Brandon's girl.
I didn't ask you.
You know, me and you could get along if you had any brains.
And if you had any manners and were 6 inches taller and had a different face and another name and didn't act like you could lick your weight in frog spawn. I don't think you've any interest in Mitchell. You were sent to watch the girl. That girl. You're the biggest liar I've met in 2 days, and I've met some beauties. If you got any high cards, you better play them right away. Tomorrow could be too late.
Big mouth, small brain. You don't know from nothing, friend. My guess is you never will.
Who was it?
That was the Mr. Goebel I mentioned. He's also been paid to follow you.
Get me out of here, for the love of God. Anywhere. Hide me. Somewhere where I can't be followed, hounded, and threatened.
What is all this?
He swore he would do this to me. He'd have me followed to the ends of the earth, to the remotest island of the Pacific.
To the crest of the highest mountain, to the heart of the loneliest desert. Somebody's been reading a rather old-fashioned book. Would this be Mr. Kinsolving?
It doesn't matter. You've got as much sympathy as a lone shark. You've no idea what it's like.
Whatever it is that's eating you up, you're gonna stay put and take it.
I drop her at the hotel. If I have any sense, I'd pick up my suitcase and go back home and forget all about her. Instead, I keep on asking questions.
Mr. Larry Mitchell, please.
I'm sorry, sir. He's checked out.
Oh? When?
This morning.
Odd. Nobody told me earlier. Is he due back?
He's paid a week's rent on his room, so I guess so, sir.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Clyde Brandon comes over. I'm in luck, or maybe not. He's holding a bunch of mail. And there's one message he doesn't seem to like.
This note was handed in. Did you happen to see who left it?
Yes, Mr. Brandon. A middle-aged, fat guy with glasses. Not a local type, a little shabby, a nobody.
Did he ask for me?
No, sir. Just asked me to put the note in your box. Anything wrong?
No, not really. Some kind of nut, obviously.
But his smile suggests otherwise. Then he turns to me. 6 foot 3 inches of handsome, healthy male. He seems charming. I don't like to think about what he'd be like when he stops being charming.
I don't believe we've met before, Mr.
Marlowe.
I heard you just now asking the clerk some questions.
I'm looking for Larry Mitchell.
No harm in that. Mr. Mitchell is well known in Esmeralda.
Well, but not favorably.
You're entitled to your opinion.
And now he's out of town again. Left early this morning, which puzzles me some. He only got home yesterday, and last night he was pretty drunk.
I don't intend to discuss the actions of a guest with you or anyone.
I just wondered who paid his bill. From what I hear, he was not only drunk last night, but pretty short of money, too.
I assume you're some sort of private op from your line of questioning. I don't welcome guys like you here. Don't make me have to request my staff to chuck you out.
The clerk gives me the fisheye. I'm about to leave when I notice this elderly party in a low chair beckoning to me. So I go over. He's old, all right, but a long way from feeble and a long way from dim.
Your name, sir?
Philip Marlowe.
I am Henry Clarendon IV. I belong to what used to be called the upper classes. I have spent many years in lobbies, in lounges and bars, on porches, terraces, and ornate gardens in hotels all over the world. I shall go on being inquisitive until the day comes when the stretcher carries me off to some nice, airy room in a hospital. You should have come to me for information, but of course you couldn't know that.
So what can you tell me about Larry Mitchell?
He lives on women. That's why he lives in an hotel like this.
Would he blackmail a woman?
He would blackmail an infant in its cradle.
I'm interested in knowing why he left so soon after coming back, who paid his bill for him, and why it was necessary to pay a week in advance as well.
Brandon could easily guarantee Mitchell's account by lifting the telephone. He can do most things by lifting the telephone. With Mr. Mitchell, suicide and murder both suggest themselves to me. You've noticed how the name of a big hotel is hardly ever mentioned when one of the guests falls out of the window. Forgive me, but I sense your interest in Mitchell is rather tangential. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so open about it.
Could be.
Run along now. I'm tired. No, just a moment more. Perhaps I could tell you something about Mr. Clark Brandon. This is a rich town. But in Esmeralda, you've got to belong, or alas, you are nothing. A certain gentleman made a lot of money in rather dubious activities in Kansas City. I believe you might hint that he had been some sort of gangster, if that term was in your vocabulary. When he came here, they wouldn't let him join the beach club. So he bought the beach club. And that's the way it's been ever since. So people stopped asking difficult questions about this gentleman's past.
You're warning me.
I don't want to descend into melodrama. But Mr. Brandon is not a man to be crossed. A pleasure to have met you, Mr. Marlowe. Good evening.
It's dark when I finally get back to the rancho. When I park, I see Goebel's little jalopies already there. I'm immediately alert as I walk to my room. The dark hours are the hours of danger. I put my ear to the door of my room. I hear strangled sobbing. A man's sob, not a woman's. Then what seems to be a hard blow. I go back to my car and get out a tire iron. I go back carefully to my room. I listen again. Silence. I reach out my pocket flash and flick it once at the window, then slide away from the door. I wait. The door opens a crack. I smash the door wide open. The man stumbles back. I see the glint of his gun in the faint light. I smash his wrist with a tar iron. He screams. I smash his other wrist. The gun hits the floor. I kick the door shut.
You ain't gonna live long.
You're not gonna live at all. Get out of my way. You still got legs? Bend him at the knee and lie down. Face down. That's if you want to face.
He's a pale-faced redhead with dead eyes. Hurt as he is, he's still tough. He tries to spit at me, but his throat chokes, and suddenly he crumples. Goebel is lying on the bed. His face is a mass of bruises and cuts. His nose is broken. He's barely conscious.
Is something the matter, Mr. Marlowe?
Oh, no. Just a hoodlum in my room waiting to kill me. Just another man beaten to pieces on my bed. Nothing's the matter at all. Quite normal around here, perhaps.
I'll call the police.
That'd be awfully damn nice of you, Lucille.
Right away.
Cops are on their way, Goebel.
Yeah. I didn't make it. Wasn't as good as I thought I was. Got out of my league.
How did it happen?
I walked into it. I'm lucky I'm still breathing. The redhead made me drive over here. He cooled me. He tied me up and beat me.
The cops will call the hospital.
I thought I was a smart cookie. Try to play Brandon as well. Things I know about him. Now all I want is to get back to Kansas City. I guess he saved my life.
I don't want anybody dead. Anyway, if he brought you here to my room, I reckon he was going for 2 dead detectives for the price of 1.
Oh, yeah.
There's one thing I'd like to know. Did Mr. Kinsolving employ you?
Yes.
So? Who is he?
Ask her. Ask her about Henry Kinsolving's son. That's why we're here.
The police arrive. I give my story. Goebel just about gives his. The redhead says nothing. Then the police tell me things about Mitchell's disappearance I didn't know. It's time to make one last appointment.
Hello?
This is Marlowe. Bad trouble. I'll pick you up.
We head back once more to my humble room in the Rancho Descansado.
I still don't know what all this is about.
You're the only one that does. And tonight, you're gonna tell me.
But...
Don't bother getting indignant. It won't work again. Larry Mitchell's dead.
Dead?
Oh, come off it. As Lincoln said, you can fool all of the detectives some of the time, and some of the detectives...
Shut up. Who the hell do you think you are?
Just a guy who's tried very hard to get where he could do you some good. A guy with enough experience and enough understanding to know you were in some kind of jam and wanted to help you out of it with no help from you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be nasty. Mitchell's dead then. Where?
According to the cops, his car's been found abandoned in a place you wouldn't know. It's about 20 miles inland, on a road that's hardly used. Nothing in his car, no suitcases. Just an empty car parked at the side of a road hardly anybody ever uses.
You said he was dead.
What else does it mean? It seems like weeks, but it's only hours ago that you came over here and offered me the world to get rid of his body.
But there wasn't... I mean, I must just have dreamed...
The first thing is that you were telling the truth when you came here. Mitchell was dead on your porch. But somebody got his body out of there while you were over here making a sucker of me. And somebody got him down to his car, and then packed his suitcases and got them down. All this took time. It took more than time. It took a great big reason. Now, who would do a thing like that just to save you from the mild embarrassment of reporting a dead man on your porch?
I'm tired. Do you mind if I sit down on your bed?
You might not like that bed. Goebel was beaten up on it tonight. You remember Goebel, don't you? The fat sort of man that followed us up the hill?
But why here?
Later, if you really want to know. Just now, I want you to tell me about Henry Kinsolving.
What are you talking about?
This is what it's all about, isn't it? That's the man who's pursuing you. So what happened with you and his son?
I suppose I might as well tell you. It's all over anyway. I was married to Lee Kinsolving. His father, Henry, was a very rich man. He practically owned Westfield, Carolina, and he always hated me. Anyway, Lee had an accident. He broke his neck and had to wear a brace to protect his spinal column. It changed him. He drank heavily. We quarreled bitterly. He couldn't let me be. One night, he removed his brace just to taunt me. I begged him not to. Then he tripped and fell. I knelt and tried to put the brace back on his neck, and then his father came in, and he...
Thought you killed him.
He still thinks that. That's why he won't let me alone. I was arrested and tried for murder. The jury were all Westfield people and beholden to my father-in-law. They found me guilty, although I wasn't. I swear to you.
So why are you free?
We have a peculiar law in our state. The judge may reserve his ruling until after the verdict. He knew everyone on the jury was scared of my father-in-law. He said they failed to consider that I might have been doing exactly what I said I was doing, trying to put the brace back on, not take it off. He voided the verdict and discharged me.
And since then, you've been in flight from your father-in-law?
In the memory of Lee's death. I kept thinking one day I'll get away from it all. Everywhere I go, he finds me and lets everyone know who I am. He leaves me no hiding place. But this time, I was starting to feel a bit more hopeful that I'd finally escape from him. Then Larry Mitchell recognized me on the train and... well, you know the rest.
As a matter of fact, I don't. All I know is that your mood was very strange when you came back to me. Like you were reliving something.
I knew I couldn't be lucky twice. It was another accident, but who was going to believe me?
How did he die?
We were up on Brandon's balcony having a drink, just me and Clark. Then Larry arrived, drunk and abusive. Unfortunately, Clark got called away on hotel business. Larry started goading me because Clark wasn't around. He was leaning against the end wall. It wasn't high. He goaded me into coming over near enough that he could grab me. I pushed him hard and he went over onto my balcony below. And he happens to fall and his neck snaps, just like Lee's. Just like Lee's.
Luckily, Mr. Clark Brandon came back to clear things up.
Yes. Yes, I suppose it must have been him. I hadn't thought. But it was you I trusted. You I wanted to help me.
Wrong choice. I don't have his sort of power. Brandon can afford to get people to do things for him. Lots of people. But even he doesn't do favors like that just for anyone.
I suppose not. Will you take me back to the hotel? I want to speak to him.
You in love with him?
I thought I was falling in love with you.
It was a cry in the night. Let's not try to make it more than it is.
Haven't you ever been in love? I mean, enough to want to be with a woman every day, every month, every year?
Let's go.
How can a hard man be so gentle?
If I wasn't hard, I wouldn't be alive. If I could never be gentle, I wouldn't deserve to be alive. Here. Here, your traveler's checks.
I thought they were for your fee.
I haven't done anything for you. What are you gonna do now?
I have no idea.
So could you be in love with Brandon now?
He's helped me a great deal. He's fond of me.
He's also an ex-racketeer. He hired a crazy red-headed gunman to scare Goebel off. The gunman was aiming to kill me, too. Could you really love a man like that?
I don't know. I can try. I wish you were the one with the money and the power.
Come on. I'll take you back. And don't forget your checks.
I think you're crazy. I think you're the craziest man I've ever met.
We get in the car and I take her back to the hotel. Maybe things will work with Brandon. Maybe they won't. Maybe he'll take on consolving for her and she'll finally be free. And how about me? Well, like I said, my dreams are my own business.
In Playback by Raymond Chandler, dramatized by Stephen Wyatt, Philip Marlowe was played by Toby Stevens, Betty Mayfield by Sarah Goldberg, Larry Mitchell, Ian Batchelor, Clyde Umney, Sean Baker, Clark Brandon by John Garasio, Goebel, Sam Dale, and Lucille by Claire Harry. Playback was directed by Sasha Yevtushenko. The producer was Claire Grove.